All right, we're here. Better late than never. Thank you, YouTube, for being an absolute turd for about the last 5 minutes. Hopefully the connection holds up. And we'll see. I'm just telling the folks in Discord. Okay, so. Yeah. So, I would just like to start off this lovely Friday morning stream with a rousing bow wow wow, yippee-o, yippee-a. All right, so what are we doing today, folks? What are we doing today? We're continuing on with the Basilisk, which has kind of led into some rigging because it was, by popular request. By the way, anyone watching this, the lovely character on my ever so awesome big boy size mug here is Anna from Apocalypse Girl, the lead character of my my baby, my labor of love, the graphic novel Apocalypse Girl, available from SourcePoint Press, published worldwide through Simon & Schuster. You can, yeah, I should probably be putting links to all that stuff in here, but, it is what it is. Better something than nothing, and so I can definitely see a moment coming where I kind of pause this maybe for a week while I rejig a few things and add some links into the template on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. And whew, man, God, I can't believe I've been doing this like 3 months now. So we'll see. Yeah, I think I wanna play around with some stuff. So, but such is the case for live streaming. We got Sean is in the chat. So let's see if we have any other regulars show up. I'll be sure to give you guys the little shout outs. In the meantime, this morning is going to be dedicated to rigging. Moving forward with rigging the Basilisk, we're going to go over to Studio, and if you were watching last time, you might have seen some of the textures and things that I had on this, and I have since tweaked those a great deal. Much happier with the results I have now. And I'll throw up some eye for a second so you can kind of see that, because I really, really like the look of it. The eyes aren't finished, by the way, as if you couldn't tell. So this is just default iRay in the viewport, which the default iRay settings, everything looks a little washed out and a little muddy like that. But when you drop in some better render settings, this thing really, really pops, as most things will pop more. So what we have going on, I'm going to restore the figure right there because we were looking at it at super high resolution. The big thing today is going to be going over a little bit more with skin weights. I'm going to start checking some rotations. We're going to go over skin weights and setting rotational limits. So we're going to jump right in here. I've grabbed L shoulder A, and let's just pin this cord up here. Really hate having cords flopping around my hands. Okay, so if we hit Shift Y, we'll get our symmetry command up. So there I can see that my poses do apply symmetrically. Yay for that. And let's jump on into hitting Alt Shift W to get our skin weight tool. And here you can see that there's a lot of weight smoothing that's gone out really, really far in this. So the first thing I want to try, and there may be some trial and error. That's one of the things that happens with rigging a lot, is you end up trying things, and you'll see something, you have to backpedal a little bit. There's a lot of experimentation in rigging, and I know that's something that drives a lot of folks crazy. So if you're not somebody who enjoys tinkering, then rigging may not be for you. I am kind of a tinkerer by default. So let's go into our menu here with our weight map brush, right click in the viewport, and let's filter weights below, let's say 1/4. And just see what we get. Okay. And that's fine. That's going to give us a good starting point, I think. Let's look at this chest. You can right click and select body parts, by the way. So I will alternate a lot between the skin weight map brush and the geometry tool. So here I want to select the geometry for the groups labeled chest and abdomen. And I'm going to turn on symmetry here. Set my brush to something relatively large on the outer radius. And 30% there. And we'll see we do have proper symmetry that seems to be working. Now sometimes, I think I demonstrated this the other day, sometimes it'll look like you have symmetry working, but then it won't. So, and I can see some things kind of popping and snapping right here. That's a little worrisome to me, but we'll see where we go with it. And for now, I'm going to run my brush weight up a little bit. And I'm also thinking really, really long and hard right now about actually smoothing all the surface of this guy down into a smooth skin and having the spikes come on as a morph. So the final shape would actually be achieved as a morph. And that's something I like to do sometimes. Because having a tighter, smoother mesh like that makes the rigging much easier. Right now I want to go through and just select my hip group as well. And I want to kind of re-solidify my skin weights on those core groups. And here you can see some of this is not really painting in there quite symmetrically. So let's go ahead and run a symmetry command on it. There we go. If you wonder why I'm sweating, I just came off a walk with the dog, followed by some coffee, and it's kind of making it a little toasty in here, but that's okay. Let's add a little bit more weight right here. Okay. And I'm going to invert my selection here. And then let's work from left to right. I'm just doing a little bit of smoothing on some parts. Okay. Let's find that joint. There we go. And I'm going to slam these weights in here to that joint for now, just to get those locked in. So I'm just kind of flooding these areas here. Actually, a good approach to this might just be to grab the hand, and then we'll flood that whole area there with some weight. And then we'll redo the fingers, because the small areas like fingers are problematic to weight just any time. So we can do this, and we'll make sure that we're not accidentally getting any skin weights on those from other things. Yeah. And it looks like we're going to need to do that over here as well. So let's just fill that, and I'll skip the symmetry on that. So there, a little trick for navigating dense group lists like this is if you select a couple polys out here, it'll gray out the plus and minus on whatever's selected, so then you can see them and find them easier. Okay. And I'm going to do the same over here. I'm just slamming all the finger joints onto the hands for now. So like if we were to pose the finger joints at all, they would do nothing. But that's going to help us kind of corral these skin weights, some of those stray weights that come on the smaller parts like that. Okay. So now we don't have any of those stray maps, stray skin weights. That's good. Now, let's see. Where do I want to go from here? Where are we going to go from here? So we have an HD morph on top of this right now. And I'm thinking the way to go here, oh, pardon me, it's going to be we're gonna go about this a little strangely. We're gonna go down to our base level. And I'm gonna send this over to Zbrush with deformations. Okay. So here we are here. Now I'm going to turn on symmetry. I've stored a morph target. I'm going to turn on symmetry. And I am just going to smooth most of this out. You know, smoothing these horns and and little things out. And to get that done a little faster, I'm going to keep the shift key held, go into my brushes, and in the light box, go into the brushes and go to my smooth brushes. I'm going to go grab a smooth, stronger brush. And that's going to let us just smush these down really flat to the mesh. This is a little unorthodox. I don't do this all the time. Not by any stretch. I don't want to completely lose my overall volume. Everything needs to stay pretty close to the what the finished volume is. I don't like that. There we go. Okay. Oh, I should probably switch over to ZBrush so y'all can see this. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of smoothing under here, but not much. Just a little bit. Because there are some areas that I think could be opened up and might get some better weights that way. Okay, so there's our final shape. This is going to be what we're working with for the moment. And I'm going to update my base mesh with that. It's kind of cool looking. I actually like that more than I thought I would. Now, the high resolution is going to be kind of weird looking for the moment, because it's going to come at the with the subtraction of its actual cages. It's different subdivision cages. I probably shouldn't have cranked that all the way up like that. Let's see where we end up. You can see little hints, little thin tendrils almost of the spike shapes trying to come out. That's from where sub-polygons created at the different subdivision levels are still trying to follow their original vectors. So let's go back to our base now. And I should be able to now add this on. I'm going to call this base final, base shape final. Okay. And that's going to bring us back out to here. So now if we turn on high resolution and give that a minute to process, then it should look just like it did to begin with. There we go. All right. So now I can just restore the figure be able to work with it without all those spikes sticking out. So let's go ahead and save that. And I'm going to save this as Basilisk Rig 4. We haven't iterated in a while. Okay. So now let's go back into looking at our skin weights a bit. Okay. So that's probably going to affect us pretty dramatically. I'm going to also make sure that I'm working on my base resolution. So I have a key command set for freezing things, so I'm going to go ahead and freeze that there. And then the other thing I want to do, and I might end up replacing, yeah, I'm definitely going to end up replacing, there we go, is I'll run Smart Resim over here, and I'm going to replace this base shape final once, just to be sure that I'm keeping everything. So I'm going to replace my base mesh updated, switch that, Smart Resymmetry, then I'm going to replace my base shape final. So now let's see what we have going on. Okay. So I'm just going to select all these polygons. Let's control with plus sign on your number pad. Okay. I'm just kind of pruning some of these weights. There we go. We'll see. It's probably going to do some weird stuff here, but that's okay. Weird stuff is part of the gig. I want my smoothing cranked all the way up. So I'll also most likely be doing a variety of JCMs, joint control morphs, just to help smooth out some of my rigging on this guy. Now let's run a weight map symmetry, and that looks like it's working pretty well. Let's turn symmetry off since I can see that it was getting some on the opposite. That's the thing. If you're working on weight maps and you're using symmetry and some of it bleeds across the center line, then that can cause you some problems. So I think I should just turn on mask center line because I think that'll help us out a little bit there. Okay. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. So now let's grab this forearm. And it's gonna be janky right now, but that's okay. Okay. How's that translating over? Could be better. So let's come here and run symmetry command. The symmetry command, even though there's symmetry on the brush, sometimes just the actual command works better. Sometimes you get some wonky stuff like that. So let's walk back down the center since we seem to be having some issues with that. Okay. Okay. And sometimes if the symmetry on painting weight maps isn't working, if you save the figure and then reload it, sometimes when it reads back in, I think Manga Studio probably is rebuilding its index of the vertices, and we'll see the symmetry then. Whereas I think after you've worked with it for a little bit, it maybe looks at it at an older data set or something like that. Like it's holding the data set of vertices in memory and not updating that, which I can understand for the sake of trying to run more efficiently. But boy, it does make it kind of crappy when you're trying to edit skin weights. So let's look at this abdomen. Mm-hmm. There we go. That's more like it. There we go. Starting to get a little closer to having these core body parts work the way we want. Just kind of alternate, work back and forth between them. It's finicky. Can be kind of aggravating. But it's part of the gig. Yeah, see there, symmetry's not translating quite right. So I'm probably going to save this and reload it here in just a minute. Let's see where we're at with these. I bet this one's complete garbage. Shockingly. It could be worse. Okay. So far, so good. I mean, this is working out smoother than I expected it to be honest. So it's a rare thing when that happens. I mean, there's a reason this is kind of a dreaded part of doing this stuff for a lot of folks. A lot of folks just, you know, they're like rigging, which is probably why people have been, you know, been poking at me to do some stuff on rigging. So that's fair. All right, let's prune some whites here. Okay. Alright. Oh yeah, knew that one was gonna be janky. See that right there? I don't like that. That upsets me. It's just not cool. It's getting better. So, you notice I turned off symmetry up there because I think working with symmetry on was just messing with me. So, I'm going to go back and forth and kind of manually isolate some of these weights to their respective sides. getting us closer and closer to what I want. Don't quite understand why that hip keeps wanting to spread some weight upstream here. Let's see what that does. See how that affects things. It's going to take it a second. While that's chugging, I'm going to pop into the chat. No, we've got Heinzie in there with us. Okay. All right, let's restore this figure here. And then start looking at what all these rotations are affecting on these back legs. That's looking... I actually kind of like that. It feels nice and meaty. Let's check out this tail. And a little something, a little secret I think people overlook is that in your tool settings, you can set like translate and rotate tools to operate on multiple nodes by hitting the secondary nodes check mark right there. It's very handy for posing, and I use it a lot for rigging to be able to check multi-joint strings like this. Okay. So I'm just going to do some quick posing on this guy. And you really don't know what you're getting until you start to pose it, so... Okay. That's going to take a second. That's a pretty extreme bend to the side for the chest, too, so we're going to dial that back here in a moment. I'm thinking this smoothing command should tweak quite a bit out on that. There we go. Right. Now let's look at similar on the abdomen. Just a little bit of manual smoothing on here. A little bit more. I was afraid of that. I was very, very afraid of that. Alright, let's restore this guy. Do a symmetry on that. Okay, there goes our abdomen. There goes our chest. Let's just kind of lightly pose these legs a little bit. And, alright. I'll leave you guys with some music here for just a second while I have to step away. I hear some stuff I need to look at. All right, I'm back. I think. Oh yeah, I forgot to switch over to Manga Studio. I am so sorry, you guys. Oh, here. So I'm pop back in here and see what we've been doing. Okay. So this is what those weights are looking like now. And I was just getting ready to run a little test on it. Testing how well those shapes go on. Of course, the feet are going to be a little janky because we haven't worked with them much yet. So let's turn on that base shape final. And there you see, like, doing it this way is going to let those, for the most part, these should stay pretty rigid. I mean, they don't need to be perfectly rigid. They are kind of outgrowths. So I'm just going in here and kind of smoothing some of this out a little bit more. Don't want to do that. That was weird. I think we're going to let that stand as it is. Alright, so let's save this guy. Rig 4. And that's going to take a minute because those assets have been kind of massively changed here. Let's double check it one more time. There's our base shape final. And then if we check our high resolution, I'm only going to go up 1 sub-D right here. Sometimes it's a good idea to look at the stuff inside iRay too, so you can see kind of a, what your target is going to look like really. And I'm going to smooth that, but I'm not going to keep this symmetry on it because I know I'm working with even polygons here, so it shouldn't make a big difference. Didn't like that. Okay. There we go. That's what I wanted. I wanted to have a nice stretchy feeling in those sinews right there. And here you can kind of see the results of what I was talking about the other day when I was sculpting on this and working on the textures. Is the how the shape, the final HD shape, kind of merges the teeth in and brings those gums out around them. I really like that. Haven't looked at the joints on the skin weights on the head just yet. Actually, not bad. Kind of surprised. As we're working on something like this, we can always start setting some limits on parameters, which I think I might start doing right about now. I do want to remove some of that influence of the head from the body. Just doesn't need to go that deep in there. Let's grab the head and the jaw. think right about there is going to be my max. We're going to stop the head bending. So let's say negative, it's at negative 25. Let's say negative 23. Set this at 20. Actually, have that bend down further. Okay. Let's just select a little bit more here and give some influence to the jaw. And some of that kind of stuff can get some JCMs on it, but I really prefer to have as much done through pure skin weights as possible, and as little with JCMs as possible. See how that's looking. I don't like that at all, actually. Not digging that either. You're going to prune that stuff back again off the head. It is very much an iterative process, folks. Okay. I feel pretty good about that. We'll remove some of this. Let's take a look at the neck. This guy's neck is not going to have a huge range of motion, I can tell you that. It's negative 42. Let's take this to 50. And then we also, I want to grab some faces of neck. Where'd my neck go? There it is. And let's grab the chest with that. Okay. I'm going to go to a lower skin weight value right there, so I can paint in something a little more subtle. I think we're going to set that to 45. Yeah. Okay. I'm betting the side to side is going to be probably 30 and 30. Yeah, about 33. Let's go negative 33 and 33. And then my twist on that, about the same. Now let's grab the head with it. Cool, cool. Of course, I have to set up the limits on the head too. So the head's going to have very little side to side. Make it twist a little bit. Let's do negative 25, 25, see what that gives us. Okay. There's the neck, there's the head. Mouth, let's set its bend to, that's going to be 0. This right here, let's do this at 120. No, let's actually take that down to 70. I like that. I'm going to give it some very mild weights on side to side. Also, if you right click, go to edit mode, you can work on multiple parameters at once. I'll right click, and I'm going to set my min max on both of these to negative 10 and 10. That might actually be a bit much. But then that gives us the ability to have him kind of do a chewing motion. And I really like that. Now let's turn back on our final shape on there. Let's see what that looks like in iRay at just the lowest resolution. And just for a better view, let's go grab a render preset. Interesting, interesting. Now let's crank this guy up a little bit. One more sub D. I like the rim light, the way that's picking up on the skin details. That's nice. And I'm just going to gild the lily a little bit here by adding an actual camera. And throw a little, let's turn that crap off. A little depth field on here. There we go. I like that. Cool. I'm going to save this guy. And that is going to call it a day for today. Right. Let that sit there for a second so I can make a thumbnail for the video from that. So we're going to need to go through and set the all the limits on all the joints on this guy. Do still need to look at the skin weights for the toes, but that's about it. Really about all that's left on there is the skin weights on the toes, then setting limits across the whole figure, and adding just a couple of facial morphs they'll need. I'll probably do some, it'll get some blinks, some brow furrows, maybe some sniff, things like that. I might add some full body morphs that that tweak out the spikes and, you know, some little stuff like that, little things. And then of course we need to add the eye textures, but this guy is closer to done than not. Probably add some tongue morphs. I might add some for the teeth, just so you can get some facial variation. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's pop over the chat and see what everybody's saying right now. So Izzy says the skin on that critter looks really heavy when posing it. Did you achieve that nice heavy looking lizard skin via the mesh or substance or a combination of both? It's the weight of that skin, that weighty look that it has, is mostly just from the way that it was sculpted. I mean, that's just a lot of sculpting detail and kind of planning around that. So, and then when you see it posed, you know, the way the skin weights are set up, and then having the final shape stack on top of a smoother version of it, all of that kind of goes together to give you the overall effect in the end. Okay. Well, folks, thank you for hanging out this morning. I'm going to wrap this up. And as always, remember, like, share, subscribe, ring the little bell, come to 6s1.com, join the newsletter. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the usual places. So, and as it is Friday, I'm going to bid y'all a fine adieu until Monday morning. So, thanks everybody. See you next week. Thank you.